Hello and welcome, my friends, to the Peculiar Paradigm Storytelling Podcast, where youth determined to make the world a better place bring attention to issues that stop our society's progress from providing various perspectives through story. This story, The Knife, written by Ella Mishra, April J. Ham, and Daisaku Edwards, is a series that presents the injustice of the youth criminal justice system and its abusive rather than rehabilitative methods. The Knife is a thrilling and tragic story that follows the unfortunate journey of several teens through the juvenile justice system, how and why they end up within the system, how they survive in it, and how it changes them as people, for better or worse. Finally, if you're interested in supporting our efforts towards criminal justice reform, lovingly tap that like button and subscribe. It helps us immensely. Now, without further ado, grab some refreshments and get comfortable because our story is about to be told.
I dash onto the sidewalk and realize dark clouds are starting to fill the sky. I quickly pull out my phone. The phone clock showed brightly the numbers 8:24 a.m. as if it was screaming at me. Homeroom starts at 8. This might not be the best thing for my attendance. A cold feeling sunk into my veins. Miss Jones is the teacher for homeroom today and the worst person ever. Miss Jones is an intriguing person. She's the type of person to yell like a baby at a student for the smallest reason, though most of the time she's just stuck wailing like a baby at me. But comparing how ridiculously she behaves to a baby is offensive to babies. At least when they whine about something, it's because they haven't lived long enough to find another way to deal with it. She doesn't help me with homework and calls me out simply to just mock me in front of the class. She is two-faced. In reality, she hates her students, or maybe just children in general, but she acts like she loves them once the principal is around. I got more and more worked up about how Miss Jones sucks, and then realized how slow I was moving and picked up my pace a bit more. With the red bricks of the school admin office coming into view, I run full speed towards where my homeroom is, which I suppose was too fast because right at the end of the parking lot, I slipped on the curb and fell on my face. Already getting hurt, and I hadn't even run into Angelica yet. As I finally arrive at class, I see Angelica and her gang step into the hallway. They're late too, I think to myself. Why are they late? Oh, well, they're a gang. Of course they're late. We all step into class at the same time, and unfortunately because of that, it looks like I'm hanging around with these idiots. Right now, the dreaded teacher, Miss Jones, is writing something on the board. As we step inside, she looks over and cries,
"All of you are being marked absent. You're 30 minutes late."
She walks over to me and says,
"Young lady, you're getting a phone call home for being late."
"What about the other kids I walked in with?" I retort angrily, but also a little regretfully knowing what the consequences for backtalk would be. Glaring at me like I just called her out of her name,
"Seat now,"
she says angrily. This day can't get any better, can it? The classroom is the same as ever, dull and boring. There's no artwork on the walls. Even math problem posters would be better than these blank walls. There was one bit of art in the class though. The board was filled with X, Y's, and Z's. We had gone further into algebra. Anxiety creeping up on me. The feeling of dread rampant in my body makes it hard to focus on what Miss Jones is talking about. I can't understand anything if I can't focus. Maybe I can say I have a headache and then pretend to make my way to the nurse's office. Wait, that won't work. Even if Miss Jones did believe I was not feeling well, she would make me muscle through it. And even if she didn't, she would send a class monitor from the office to escort me to the nurses. Can I run out of class? Now, Miss Jones might see me or someone might snitch, and I can't imagine what the consequences of a phone call home would be after that. But the hallway is so close. No, best not to make the day tougher than it already has been. Whatever Miss Jones was writing on the board must have been pretty important, because my teacher had written a lot on the board. Miss Jones declared, in a tone of boredom,
For the kids who came in late, today we're going to start working on the graphing of linear equations and determining such equations from graphs.
A kid's hand shot into the air and asked,
What's the quadratic equation?
The kid who asked this is named Chad Smith. He is someone who wants the class to suffer. She said, linear equations, and what in the sweet mother of God is quadratic equation? Chad is a good guy. I've been friends with him since middle school, so I know he probably doesn't mean to increase the stress levels of us mere mortals not interested in math. I'm sure he's just a really curious and enthusiastic student who probably isn't challenged by the material of this class, but I can't say Chad doesn't piss me off. Answering Chad's question, with almost an equal amount of frustration as the rest of the class, Miss Joan replies with lots of numbers and letters, but my bored student mechanism kicks in and I successfully tune her out. There's no point in listening. It's only going to cause me more stress. My classes started to drag on forever until the bell finally rang and I rushed to the cafeteria. It isn't lunchtime yet, but after the hellish lecture Chad made me sit through, I deserve to have an early lunch and skip my next 2 classes. The lunch I rushed out the door with today was old mac and cheese from about a week ago. I poked the crusty, dry mac and cheese with my finger. It feels like wet sandpaper sponge and smells like bad milk. There's absolutely no way I'm gonna eat this. Maybe Crocs has something good for lunch today he's willing to share. I start forward, figuring I should find somewhere comfy to skip class. I look down at my phone as I walk and text my cousin, Yo Crocs, my favorite cousin, do you mind sharing your lunch with me today? A text bubble pops up. Sure, cuz, I gotta go to environmental club at lunch, so I'll just give it to you in passing. But as I finish reading it at the corner of my eye, I see someone moving very quickly towards me. I move out of the way clumsily and almost bump into one of the wooden tables.
Watch it,
Yelled the kid I would have smashed into. Looking closer at him, I realize he's Edward, part of the gang Angelica was in. I took a glance on the side and saw Angelica, with her curly hair tied into 2 buns, nonchalantly eating a red, juicy apple while sitting on top of a schoolyard table. I guess Angelica and I had the same idea to skip class. We always did think alike when it came to school. Taking another bite of the apple, she smiles with her eyes closed, her pearly white teeth contrasting so complementary to her dark brown skin. Since I've known her, she always smiled that way when she was satisfied with anything. Smile like she was happily remembering about something nostalgic. Seeing that smile, memories of better times hit me. The memory was when Angelica and I were in elementary school. It was my first day of kindergarten and I'd been drawing in the sketchbook my parents had got me. I was new to the school, so I didn't know anybody until Angelica walked up to me and said,
Do you want to borrow my crayons?
I looked up at her for a second and nodded. She smiled that special way she does and declared very loudly,
My name is Angelica. What's yours?
She naturally yells at everything.
Boyaduka?
I responded.
I was born 6 years ago in a hospital. I really like to draw.
Angelica looked like she was smothering a laugh, and I said nervously,
Was I not supposed to say that?
Angelica giggled and responded,
No, that was perfect, even though you really like to draw. Do you have to do it alone? Can I draw with you?
I nodded, embarrassed. That was the first time I worked with color. After that day, we talked to each other pretty much every day. Ate lunch together, had sleepovers, we're best friends. In middle school, we both met Chad, who, even before becoming a hulking football player in high school, was 5'10", broad-shouldered, but still as vibrant and optimistic as he is today. I'd seen him sporting a very bright pair of neon Crocs. We introduced him to my cousin Crocs, who had moved here from Australia around the same time Angelica and I met. He was given the name Crocs because that is the only type of footwear he would use, as well as because of the sheer variety of Crocs he had. He literally has more different pairs of Crocs than shoes I have in total. Though they both came from very different backgrounds, their bizarre love for that godforsaken shoe brand brought them very close. Through middle school, we were always together and loved every moment of it, almost like a group of friends in a cheesy sitcom. Now it's all in the trash because Angelica messed it up. We could have been laughing, making fun of neon cracks, and drawing together, but instead we're enemies and estranged. I moved my head from side to side, shaking myself out of the memory lane. I know if I keep thinking of what we were while looking at what we've become, I will tear up right here. Angelica finally takes notice of me and gives me a suspicious and curious look. I slowly back away from the table, looking at her angrily, tears forming in the edges of my eyes, and begin to look for a new place to be alone.
That is where we will be concluding this episode. If you enjoyed what you listened to today, or you just want to support our work, click that like button and, of course, subscribe with the bell notifications on. And for bonus content, follow us on Instagram at Project Vatu. And if you're curious and want to see where this story goes next, come back next week, the same time. We'll be waiting.